Hey y'all, it's your girl D back with another video. Yes, your girl is back. So this video is going to be a book review on a book that I'm just finished reading. Here it is. It's called Somebody's Daughter by Ashley C. Ford. I got this book by chance at a black-owned bookstore called Semicolon Bookstore in Chicago. Shout out, it's black-owned. I believe it's woman-owned, and it's just a whole vibe. So if you're in Chicago, I'm shouting out Semicolon Bookstore as your need for POC reading material. And y'all, I'm so glad I picked up this book. I have my notes here about what I like about this book. It's a memoir by the author, and basically, y'all hear this foolishness that's going on outside. These people always be out here beeping and alarms going off in like people's cars and all that other stuff, but I digress. So, Somebody's Daughter is a memoir recapping on the author's life, adolescence growing up without her father. Her father was in prison, or growing up with, a dysfunctional relationship with her mom, navigating sexuality and, feeling beautiful and body acceptance and all of these things that a lot of us as black women tend to deal with growing up, especially if you grow up in a suburb or somewhere. For me, when you grow up in a suburb and you don't see a lot of people that look like you until a certain time, that was not the case for the author, but a lot of the issues that she talked about are very relatable. So, in terms of theme, okay. Sorry, y'all, I'm trying to put my little notes, and I can't see because my glasses are off. So, two of the topics, I guess, well, three of the topics that are really vital in this particular book are the topics of, the idea of self, and then the idea of family, and how you want to appear to yourself versus how you appear to your family as a part of that dynamic. I think the author does a beautiful job of showcasing how her identity changed as she started to grow and as she started to move and navigate through the world as her own self. But then also, it's kind of the the dissonance, the cognitive dissonance that happens when you begin to change and you feel as though your family has not changed. So, like, for example, I'll use one of the, not to spoil or anything, but when the author goes away to college, how does that affect your life versus if she would have stayed and gone to a community college and stayed around people that she knew, family, all of those good things. In a sense, she begins to grow and figure out who she is as a person as she's navigating these different identities. One of the other things early on in the book that she deals with is the idea of, rape and, womanhood and what that means in terms of toxic masculinity. I think that's a theme, and I think it's a kind of overly used phrase now, right? We're in the era of kind of political correctness, this whole, calling things out, and we didn't have terms for that. Back in the day, we just called it the R word, or we just call it the M word. Obviously, on YouTube, you can't say certain things, so we just called it those kind of things, and that's what we did. We didn't call it like toxic. Everything is toxic nowadays, but that's neither here nor there. So in the book, she experiences, you know, the R word from a boy that, you know, she knew, and, you know, unwanted advances and things like that, and how as women, as we grow into our bodies, we are shamed for it, and then we're also praised in a way for it. I'll use an example from my own life, something I've experienced, like when we were in middle school. You know, a lot of us would go to the mall, and y'all remember when everybody was wearing those matching tracksuits. Y'all remember what I'm talking about? I'll put a little picture. Y'all remember everybody had those fits where it was like a matching tracksuit. So you had your the zip up hoodie track jacket, I guess that's what it's called, and then you had the bottoms that matched. So, you know, those were very form fitting. So for me, I've never been like a skinny, I was never skinny after, you know, reaching that growing phase, right? So there used to be this random store in the mall, and a lot of us know what I'm talking about. And these like two dusty older guys that would always like holler at the young girls and be like, make, little comments and remarks when you're wearing your little fit. And it's like, yes, we want it to be attractive, what it meant to us, but at the same time, we don't want your advances because you're like 3 times our age at the time. So like, if I would say I was like 13, but these men were probably 45 at the time, 40s, 45s, and they had owned a store and whatever. So that's an example of the things that were kind of portrayed in this book in my mind, how I interpret it to be. And then there's a shame around it, right? So you're growing up, your body's changing, your mind is changing, your understanding of the world around you. You're trying to shape and make sense of the world around you. And, you know, you have all these people telling you different things, right? So in the case of, you know, the R word, you know, her mother made it clear that if anything like that ever happened to her, that she should tell her. I'm not going to tell what happened, but, you know, in real life, sometimes we can't tell our parents the things that happen to us, and we can't confide in family because even when you tell them, they're not really ready to hear those kind of things either at the same time. They want you to be open, but they're not really ready to hear those things. So all in all, I would say I would give this book, I would recommend this book for sure, just because the author makes it really easy to read. That's one of the main things I look for in like when I'm reading a book, when I'm trying to enjoy a book. I don't like these books where it's hard to read and it's hard to retain the information because you're trying to digest the heaviness of the content. So it's easy to read. Honestly, I finished this maybe focused, I would say less than a day. Well, I didn't finish it less than a day, but if you're focused, you can finish it in a day or a day and a half. Not too hard. The storytelling, I think the storytelling is phenomenal for, you know, a memoir. It's not, you know, dragging out. It's not dragging out the content. It's not giving you information that doesn't really add to the storyline. It gives you the major events that shaped her, you know, her thinking and her being and things like that, so we can totally understand what's going on. There's nothing confusing. It's just straightforward to the point. The chapter length is great. When I'm reading a book, I like to have short chapters. I don't know what, something about it just makes it seem more fluid. You know, a lot of these books, they have like these really long chapters and you're like, okay, for me at least, I kind of lose interest in some of these things. So that was really good and refreshing. And then the final thing that I felt about this book is super relatable. Um, some of the things that we go through as Black women that we don't really talk about on the regular. I mean, now it's coming to light, a lot of things, body positivity and relationships and family dynamics and things like that, where we may have been taught a certain way and now we're learning to unlearn. I think it's a great, um, I think it's a great starting point, a conversation point. And one of the things about this book as well, I'll just show you guys, at the back of the book, if you can see, they have discussion questions, which are really, it's more of a like, it's not necessarily, it's not necessarily like discussing the book, it's relating the book back to our personal everyday lives, right? So I think that adds to, I think that adds to the no, I don't even know the word. Let me actually read from one of the questions. So they said the ending of the book shows importance of vulnerability. And the reflection discussion question is, in what way can you find strength in your vulnerabilities? Right? How often do we take time to talk about our vulnerabilities or even to think about our vulnerabilities in everyday life? It's just a great book as far as reflection and beginning to think about ourselves and how our family dynamics have shaped who we are, and if we've gone through things like this, moving away from family. In the book, they also have, experienced loss, maybe in the physical sense and in the sense of that her father was locked away. So, in that sense, you're losing time with that person and the importance of that. So I just wanted to come on here as I'm embarking on more of a self-care journey and a self-exploration. No, as I'm embarking on more self-exploration and getting back to the things that I love. Reading is one of those things that I have loved in the past, but for some reason as an adult, focus is hard to find. So I just want to drop this book and give y'all a review of what I think. And Black women, pick this book up if you have a chance, if it's at your library. I'm gonna just cut it there. Peace, one love, bye.